What's going on, Barndo brother friends, the contractor friends? We need no introduction. You know who we are by now. So today we are talking about mortgages. And everyone asks us all the time, can you get approved for these? Are you guys an approved contractor? Well, the answer is yes. We have a plethora. Yes, I said plethora.
A plethora
Of individuals to choose from. Nick, take it away, buddy.
Yeah, so the finance part of any type of construction build is typically one of the longest and most boring parts, in my opinion.
I concur. And I thank you, by the way, for all the time that you spend putting that paperwork together that I will never do.
Yeah, it's... You don't have to thank me for it. You need to thank Rosie for
yes,
putting most of
Rosie,
it
we love you.
I get to sign a lot of the papers.
This is true.
But
you have to read a lot of it, too. That's a lot.
I do, yeah. She does most of the prep, though. So credit where credit's due. Barndo financing was something that when we first got into, people didn't know who was going to be able to do it, what was going to be involved with it. It was going to be handled the same as regular houses. And what we've kind of learned through the entire process is that most lenders will go ahead and lend on Barndos now. Mm-hmm. The problem with Barndos is that most of the time, we don't have comps.
Correct.
So Barndos don't exchange hands very often. If you're going to build yourself a Barndo, you're probably going to live in that Barndo for a long time.
I think that's the case right now, like we've talked about before, but I think it's going to be a part of the future where we're not going to have that issue anymore.
We're probably only 5 years into this, right? So I don't think a lot of people have really exchanged hands on a lot of those yet, and we don't have sale value numbers. So we do have to go ahead and approach the appraisal a little bit differently. But we've got banks that will go ahead and basically lend on them altogether.
Yeah. And Nick's right. It's almost like right now it's a lifer house, I would call it, because you have a lot of families joining up together. So split plan. Mom and dad are coming in-laws are coming in. You guys over here, kids are over here. So that is to me a lifer house. And quite frankly, after I hate to say it, grandma and grandpa pass, the kids probably go to that side or vice versa, and then they split it up again, and it's just going to keep cycling out.
That's exactly it.
Because it's becoming very expensive to live anywhere in the United States.
Yeah.
So anyway,
we do have several what we'd call commercial banks. Commercial banks could be any type of bank that you could have a bank account at. Go walk in and actually get a loan that way. We also have a couple brokers that we use that use like major underwriting companies to go ahead and provide loans as well. So either way, we can get you approved for your financial situation. I really like giving back to the local banks and smaller banks that are in our area. So we do have some of those guys that we've got kind of specific guidelines actually working with. And a lot of times we can get a faster yes or no on those because it's a little bit more controlled and a little bit more, hometown type feel on these banks. So for most people looking to get into this, kind of give you some just precursor baseline credentials that you need before you can really apply for a loan. You really need about a 680 credit score. Okay, and the way that works is if you and your spouse are going to go ahead and apply on the same type of loan, they're going to use the lower of their two credit scores. So maybe somebody makes the money, but the other person, is better off credit-wise. Right. You're going to go off the lower of the two scores. So sometimes it does make sense to actually drop one spouse or the other if you can qualify individually.
Because you're still, by the way, the spouse is still on the deed, so it's irrelevant, guys. There's some kind of ownership there with men, and I see it all the time with husbands and wives, and maybe some ego a little bit involved, but it's okay. If your wife's credit score is better, deal with it.
Yeah. For a while, my wife wasn't on the deed or on the loan.
Yeah.
And then the beneficial part to that is homesteading.
Good point.
So when you have two people on a deed, you kind of get that dual homestead, and that goes ahead and reduces your taxable value on your actual home, reduces your property taxes. So with that, 680 is kind of like that baseline credit score. You need to have at least or better a 43% debt to income ratio. So all of your liabilities divided by your actual income gives you that number. And then there's really not a whole lot more that goes into that. Those are kind of your two main precursors, and then everything else is back on us as far as the type of house, the overall property size. You do need to go ahead and be able to put down at least 5 to 10%. If you can put down 20%, you'll save yourself PMI.
And you said some of these individuals are also taking the land.
Almost every bank that we deal with will go ahead and incorporate the land as equity into the actual home. So these are all one-time closed loans. Okay, we're talking about a very small subset of normal type of mortgages. It's not going to be like if you go ahead and you're buying a house that's already constructed. That's just a straight-out mortgage, right? We are construction to perm. So these are one-time closed loans. They have a little bit of a higher risk associated with them, right? So there's more for the bank to go ahead and lose out on. As long as you can go ahead and have the equity in the land, most of the time you don't even really need to put out money for your down payment. What you will need to come to closing with, typically, though, is your closing costs, which typically are like between 4 and 6% of the home cost.
Which is minimal. Well, depending obviously the value of the home, but still minimal percentage rate.
Yeah, I mean, you assume on a $300,000 to $400,000 house, you're probably in the ballpark of like 13 to 15 grand that you need to go ahead and come to the table with.
Yeah, I will say a humble brag that I would like to bring up is that when we first started this, and for transparency, banks kind of looked at us with cross-eyed.
Oh, yeah.
And now here we are into it and building and having a lot of projects going on, and now they're knocking on our door. So we're qualified in a lot of, like I said, a lot of different banks, which is nice.
It was extremely difficult in the beginning. I mean,
it was kind of concerning at times because we're like, uh-oh. And then also disappointing, that they weren't willing to take the risks, but I understand it's a different market.
There was almost a full 2 weeks of me every day going to another bank and another bank and another bank. Some of the banks that we're actually working with right now, and saying, hey, can you loan me anything to go ahead and start building this back home? We're kind of getting the money up front for some of these houses. And we're just too new of a company. They wouldn't. So almost every bank has like a 2-year rule. They really want to see a company in business for 2 years before they go ahead and start lending. We're a little under that age anyway.
But they saw the progression. They saw the work. They saw the permits being pulled. They knew where we were going.
We've got the work product behind us now to go ahead and prove that.
And quite frankly, our reputation. It's a big part of it,
Well, anytime you can deal with a local bank too and point to, hey, just go look at our YouTube channel. And they see everything that's out there and everything that we put on social. It's a little bit more.
It's more. Well, it's good. It's credibility for them, and they see that we're continuing. It's like I said the other day in a meeting. It's the consistency. So if little tip to other contractors out there or anyone in general, that's why you show that consistency on social media. That's why you continue to post and you are up to date. Because if they see deficiencies or if they see like a full separation, like, well, what's going on here? And in today's world with the market, and you know this, buddy, that if you all of a sudden you're posting all these things, you're constantly on video, you're constantly on social media, and all of a sudden you dissipate. The public's going, what's wrong? What's happening? What's going on? That's in general.
Exactly. Well, and I think one of the other things that is not beneficial just for the homeowner, but also for the banks on our side, is the speed of our builds. We can build these as fast as we can.
Still blows me away. Because let's be real, we've been in construction for a long time. Everyone right now is a year to 2 years. We just did the Amelia Model for our client 5 months.
Yeah, but I mean, think about where we came from, right? So, like, you over at Horton, doing any type of track homes, those are always fast builds,
Super
right?
fast.
So you always kind of learn just, okay, well, I got to be thinking this far ahead for the next thing.
Correct.
We got to make sure that we're lined up for this. Working in the villages, I think the fastest build we ever had was like 45 days.
Yeah.
You know?
We won't do that, folks, because we don't want to do that. It's a big no-no.
Yeah. There were plenty of problems in this period of time, but
Snuggle cracks.
cracks
everywhere,
any type
falling
of
apart
concrete, but yeah, I mean, realistically, the average period of time was 6-7 months for a house.
Yeah.
Even faster, depending on how many inventory houses they needed at that point in time. But really, it's just about communication. So everything that we go ahead and we say here about transparency and communication, blah blah blah, you hear it so many times. We do have to take that to the field and still go ahead and have that same level of communication with our subcontractors to make sure that everyone knows when they're expected to be on site.
Yeah, and we will give a nod of respect to our superintendent as well. He's got to keep the ball rolling, and if he doesn't keep the ball rolling, there becomes a problem. And I will tell you, what we've been doing is customer servicing as well and quality assurance. So Nick and I are out there this morning. early afternoon, and looking at the project and seeing where we are and seeing where the faults are. And we walked the house today and we said no, 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 and all the things that need to get done. And then we have to go back to our inspection report. And like you're going to see in another one of our videos, Nick and I have this checklist in our head. Superintendents have it on paper, but we know what we need to look for to get things done as quickly as possible.
Yeah, it's a big part of it. I mean, obviously, the more eyeballs you can have on a site, the better.
For sure.
Nobody's ever going to catch everything, but the longer you stare at things, the more and more you start seeing. And we try to make sure that we catch a lot of that kind of stuff before it ever gets in front of our client. Just take care of the issues as they come up. Don't wait for someone to go ahead and bring them up to you.
Or how about this? How about set the expectation with the trade and say, this is what we expect. And if you simply can't do this, then there's no way for you to work with us anymore, because it's an expectation guideline of what we need to follow. If we're walking through and we're seeing a cracked tile, why wasn't that taken care of prior for us even doing the walkthrough? You knew it was cracked. You saw, you left it there. There's a grout void or gap in the caulking in the casing or the baseboard. Like, why? Why are we doing that?
Yep.
So.
And those subcontractors weed themselves out over time. The more times you do end up having to call people back and say, hey, this isn't right, you're going back to fix it, and it's on your dime, they're just either going to stop working for you and kind of weed themselves out, or you're going to go ahead and kind of realize, okay, well, I just burned a week waiting on somebody to go ahead and fix this one thing.
Yeah.
They're just not for us.
Yeah. And it happens in top tier executive series models as well, guys. It's maintaining these trades is a big deal, and in today's world, we are being very selective. And I want to put that link below. So Josh, or Jacob, you can put that link below where they can register, right?
They want to go ahead and hop on, fill out the form, and put their information about where they work and what trade they're in. Yeah, so if you're a trade and you want to go ahead and work with us at all, we do have a link that's going to be somewhere on the screen. You find it, it's going to look like a link. We have a small form to fill out. It's going to ask you for all of your company information. It's also going to ask you for your license information, whether or not you're insured, because that's a big deal for us. Important. Honestly, smaller companies, I understand that you have the ability to be workers' comp exempt. I really don't want to deal with a whole lot of that kind of stuff.
There's a whole new thing going on and all new rules. We can't even allow people on our job sites without the proper insurance.
Exactly.
They won't even take workman. They don't even care if you're workman's comp exempt anymore.
Yeah, it's a weird situation out in the field right now.
But it's protective of the homeowner, protective of us, protective of the person that owns the property. It's protections in place, right? All right, so here's the deal, folks. Here's the spiel. If you want to work with a contractor, please reach out to us on the number on the screen, set up an appointment, call our main office, talk to Rosie. She's absolutely phenomenal, and she will set up a time for you actually to meet with Nick. It's very rare. There's a very rare time that me and Nick are ever together, but there are rare times that it does happen. So if you want to meet with both of us, we could set that up as well, and we talk to you about the entire process, how we sit down, talk about how we work with home drafting services, sit down with the CAD guy, build your house. And here's the deal. If you have a plan in mind, if there's something that you want, bring it to us, and then we will make the alterations to that plan. And I promise you, we're going to be open and honest every step of the way. There's times people bring in things and they're so adamant about things, but structurally it will never work and it will cost you more money in the long run. So Nick's job, my job as well, is to point it out and say we're going to fix that. Also, don't forget, in regards to financing, we do have all those options available. So don't think you don't have those options. Give us a call on the screen below, and we will talk to you soon.